Hebrew, Judeo-Aramaic, Judeo-Arabic, other Jewish diaspora languages, Jewish folklore, Jewish poetry. Jewish poets. The Dead Sea Scrolls are ancient Jewish and Hebrew religious manuscripts that were found in the Qumran caves in the Judean desert, near Ain Feshkha on the northern shore of the Dead Sea in the West Bank. Scholarly consensus dates these scrolls from the last 3 centuries BCE and the 1st century CE. The texts have great historical, religious, and linguistic significance because they include the second oldest known surviving manuscripts of works later included in the Hebrew Bible canon, along with deuterocanonical and extra-biblical manuscripts which preserve evidence of the diversity of religious thought in late Second Temple Judaism. Almost all of the Dead Sea Scrolls are held by the State of Israel in the Shrine of the Book on the grounds of the Israel Museum, but ownership of the scrolls is disputed by Jordan and Palestine. Many thousands of written fragments have been discovered in the Dead Sea area. They represent the remnants of larger manuscripts damaged by natural causes or through human interference, with the vast majority holding only small scraps of text. However, a small number of well-preserved, almost intact manuscripts have survived, fewer than a dozen among those from the Qumran caves. Researchers have assembled a collection of 981 different manuscripts, discovered in 1946-47 and in 1956 from 11 caves. The 11 Qumran caves lie in the immediate vicinity of the Hellenistic period Jewish settlement at Khirbet Qumran in the eastern Judean desert, in the West Bank. The caves are located about 1 mile, supporting the radiocarbon and paleographic dating of the scrolls. In the larger sense, the Dead Sea Scrolls include manuscripts from additional Judean desert sites, dated as early as the 8th century BCE and as late as the 11th century CE. Biblical texts older than the Dead Sea Scrolls have been discovered only in 2 silver scroll-shaped amulets containing portions of the priestly blessing from the Book of Numbers, excavated in Jerusalem at Katef Hinnom and dated c. 600 BCE. Some scholars also include the controversial Shapira scroll. Most of the texts use Hebrew, with some written in Aramaic texts. Most of the texts are written on parchment, some on papyrus, and one on copper. Archaeologists have long associated the scrolls with the ancient Jewish sect called the Essenes, although some recent interpretations have challenged this connection and argue that priests in Jerusalem, or Zadokites, or other unknown Jewish groups wrote the scrolls. Owing to the poor condition of some of the scrolls, scholars have not identified all of their texts. The identified texts fall into 3 general groups. The Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered in a series of 12 caves around the site originally known as the Ain Feshkha Caves, near the Dead Sea in the West Bank between 1946 and 1956 by Bedouin shepherds and a team of archaeologists. The practice of storing worn-out sacred manuscripts in earthenware vessels buried in the earth or within caves is related to the ancient Jewish custom of Genazah. The initial discovery by Bedouin shepherd Muhammad Edhdhib, his cousin Juma Muhammad, and Khalil Musa, took place between November 1946 and February 1947. The shepherds discovered 7 scrolls. The original scrolls continued to change hands after the Bedouin left them in the possession of a third party until a sale could be arranged. In 1947, the original 7 scrolls caught the attention of Dr. John C. Trevor, of the American Schools of Oriental Research, who compared the script in the scrolls to that of the Nash Papyrus, the oldest biblical manuscript then known, and found similarities between them. In March, the 1948 Arab-Israeli War prompted the move of some of the scrolls to Beirut, Lebanon, for safekeeping. On the 11th of April 1948, Miller Burroughs, head of the Azor, announced the discovery of the scrolls in a general press release. Early in September 1948, Metropolitan Bishop Mar Samuel brought some additional scroll fragments that he had acquired to Professor Howard R. Sellers, the new director of Azor. By the end of 1948, nearly 2 years after their discovery, scholars had yet to locate the original cave where the fragments had been found. With unrest in the country at that time, no large-scale search could be undertaken safely. Sellers tried to get the Syrians to assist in the search for the cave, but he was unable to pay their price. In early 1949, the government of Jordan gave permission to the Arab Legion to search the area where the original Qumran cave was thought to be. Consequently, Cave 1 was rediscovered on 28 January 1949 by Belgian United Nations observer Captain Philippe Lippens and Arab Legion Captain Ekkash El Zebin. The rediscovery of what became known as Cave 1 at Qumran prompted the initial excavation of the site from 15 February to 5 March 1949 by the Jordanian Department of Antiqui.